Welcome to the Select Board meeting of February 11th, 2025. Please join the board in a pledge of allegiance to the flag. Mr. Canty, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Tonight's meeting of the Plymouth Select Board is taking place in a hybrid format. Members of the board are joining us here in person at the Great Hall at Town Hall. Members of the public or presenters may be joining us virtually over the Zoom webinar platform, as well as here in person at the Great Hall at Town Hall. If you do wish to join this meeting virtually over the Zoom webinar platform, the login information for which to do so is included on the agenda that is posted on the town website. Members of the public may also observe this meeting by watching it on Comcast Channel 9 or Verizon Channel 47. Members of the public are also reminded that any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of the Select Board, pursuant to state law, after notifying the chair, subject to reasonable requirements of the chair, so as to not interfere with the conduct of the meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any recordings. At present, we are aware of a recording being made by the local scene. That is the only recording we are aware of. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Canty. First order of business is licenses. Any questions on licenses?
If my colleagues do not have any questions on the licenses or the Eversource utility petitions, I would make a motion to approve all of the licenses and Eversource utility petitions as a group.
Second that.
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Bletzer. Discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Bletzer?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Unanimous. And then we have 1 through 12 on administrative notes. And I think we'll take number 1 separately. Correct, Mr. Mahoney?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and I would love to see number 1 separate and the last one, number 12, also.
Okay. Anyone else?
If there are no other questions or comments, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion to approve admin notes 2 through 11 as a group. Second.
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Golden through administrative, I'm not done with that. Administrative notes 2 through 11. Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And myself, yes. Unanimous. Let's go right to number 12. Mr. Canty? Mr. Mahoney? I
Yeah.
just wanted somebody to read it.
I'll read it,
so
yes.
everybody knows what we're talking about.
Admin note 12, the board will vote to approve and execute the lease agreement with John and Sandra Sparks of 260 Ryder Way.
Okay.
I'll move approval, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mahoney, second by Mr. Canty. Discussion. Mr. Mahoney.
So I just want to explain this administrative note. This one has been hanging out there for a couple of decades, and it's a situation on Long Beach where a house was built on property that has been determined with 100% certainty is owned by the taxpayers of Plymouth. So for those individuals in the public who pay attention to what we post in our executive sessions announcements, you've probably seen that we've gone in back and forth a multitude of times on this topic over the last, I would say, 12 to 18 months. And finally, I would categorize this as a massive loose end that has finally been brought to a conclusion. There is an agreement here with Mr. and Mrs. Sparks. On top of there is an admission that they don't own the land. They will continue to pay the property taxes on this property as if they were the owner of both the land and the home. And on top of that, they are entering into a lease agreement where, in addition to that, they will pay an incremental, starting off at $750 incrementally a month, There will be a 4% annual escalator on top of that additional payment. And maybe one of the most important variables here is that also upon the conclusion of their natural lives, when Mr. and Mrs. Sparks pass on, they cannot, this lease cannot be passed on to any of their children. At that point in time, this structure would revert to the town of Plymouth. So that's what happened with that one.
Thank you, John. Anyone else? Mr. Golden?
Was there
Number
a
12.
motion?
Oh,
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes. 12, unanimous. Back to 1. Mr. Canty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Admin Note 1 reads, "The board will vote to authorize the town manager to execute the memorandum of understanding between the town of Plymouth and the Plymouth Regional Economic Development Foundation Incorporated, a nonprofit corporation created pursuant to Chapter 180 of the Massachusetts General Laws."
Okay.
Discussion on the, well, okay, yeah, you have a motion. What's the motion?
I would make a motion to approve Admin Note 1.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion.
So is there somebody here tonight representing the foundation? I was told initially that Mr. Halsey might be here.
He's right there.
Billy's here.
Oh, Mr.
Oh, there.
Palissy, Mr. Meal, Jack Meal's here.
Right. So I don't know if you want to bring him up to the podium to
It's
Billy.
just a standard 5-year renewal lease like
Right.
the town does. It's just bookkeeping 101. Housekeeping, I should say, not bookkeeping.
Yes.
So do you want to bring Mr. Halsey?
Yeah, sure, if he's got a moment.
Mr. Halsey, do you have a moment?
Good evening, Board. Thank you for having me here. I'm Bill Halsey, the president of Plymouth Regional Economic Foundation. We've been in existence for a long time. We've done Jack Meal, Nefik, Tom Wallace, some of the original people that started this. We've done a lot of different things over the year, grant writing, and helped a lot of businesses. It's kind of a unique board. It's a board where if you came to the town, any kind of town, and you wanted to set up shop, you wanted to, set up a business or something like that, it's a good group of people where can you go to a board where you can have the chairman of the board of selectmen, you can have the town manager, you can have the director of planning, we've got the president of the Chamber of Commerce on there, we have state rep Muratori on there, and we have local business people all around that can be on a greeting committee and kind of let people know the lay of the land. Born and raised in Plymouth, I was a former selectman, and I actually got appointed to that when I became chair in 2010. And it's a very unique board, and I think it brings a lot to the table for somebody who's entering a community like ours, and you want to enter them with, warm, open arms, and you want to help navigate them through the direction and channels they're going to go. So it was a board that, when I was appointed to, I honestly didn't even know it really existed. And then when I was on there, I really liked it. I liked a lot of the things, that we did, and I know Jack can speak to it from fruition, where Ed Santos and Jack were some of the main people who started this. And Jack, I'll turn it over to you if you want to give a little bit about the history of where we began and where we are today.
Glad to. Thank you. My name is Jack Meal. I've been a resident of the town of Plymouth for 47 years. And myself, Mr. Wallace, Ed Santos, that many of you know. In 1999, Tom Bosanquet, which some of you may remember, prepared a white paper for the town on the economic development function of the town. And the results of his paper said that the economic development function should be privatized. Back then, the budget for that function was about $250,000 a year. Tom, myself, Tom Bosanquet got together, and we joined with Ed Santos from the Plymouth Industrial Development Corporation, and Ed agreed to split that money in half. $125,000 a year had come and continues to come from the private sector. So over the 25 years that we've been in existence, over $3 million has come from the private sector to fund economic development, which is $3 million that the town did not have to ante up. just a few of the many accomplishments that we have. One was that we formed the Plymouth Growth and Development Corporation, which is the entity that oversees the parking in this town, that expands parking in this town. They've done a fine job. One of them is that facility that you see right next door. We also commenced with the review of Commerce Way and the study for Commerce Way and raising the money for Commerce Way, and that came to fruition, as you all know, and it also expanded the sewerage line to further into West Plymouth. We, in 2012, had the first cruise ship come to the town of Plymouth. Today, during the summer months, we have a cruise ship comes in here many times during the week, which generates thousands of dollars of dockage fees, which again is funds that come to the town of Plymouth. We also were involved with the town wharf improvements. In 2017, we sold 23 acres off of Hedges Pond Road, which is a property that we purchased from the town for fair market value, $500,000 in cash. It's all public information. We did mine gravel off of that site, and that money is sitting in the bank today, and that's what funds the other half of the private investment into the economic development for the town of Plymouth. We also have the Children's Business Fair, which we are planning on our third business fair this year. We did the conference hall study. We are developing a co-working space that will open up in 2025. We worked with the town planner's office to receive a grant for the whole tech master plan. And recently, I know Bill wanted to mention, we sold our second lot on 71 Hedges Pond Road, and I believe that the other day the town received $2 million from the sale of that property. And with that, and both of those lots on Hedges Pond Road were properties owned by the town that were not generating any tax revenue at all. The first lot that we sold today generates about $70,000 in tax revenue, excise taxes, as well as job opportunities. This project, when it is fully built out, is expected to generate hundreds of thousands of tax revenue, excise taxes, and create a number of job opportunities for citizens of the town in the region. So I've got a laundry list. I could tie up your meeting for quite a while, but that's just a few of the highlights of the things that we've done. It's a fully volunteer board. One person is an employee, one person gets paid. And the other thing I would like to just mention, we asked 26 years ago when we first started talking about this, we asked that 3 members of the government of Plymouth sit on our board: the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, the director of planning, and the town manager. And the reason for that is so that there would be somebody there at every one of our meetings when we decide what our projects are going to be and what money we spend. There will be somebody there representing the citizens of Plymouth. No one makes a nickel. No one has ever received a penny except for our one paid employee. Any questions? I'm happy to do my best.
I just want to say thank you very much and to explain to everybody what the $2 million is intended for. The $2 million will now go for the design of 2 rotaries for Cedarville that we've heard so much about, and which I've been saying for a year and a half probably. So it's nice to see that come together and that start down in that area that's desperately needed. The other issue out there is I believe it's 130 acres, John, that is to be put in conservation, which has been done. And now with the leftover money from this, it's not going to pay for the whole rotary, don't get me wrong, but for the design of both of them, it will, and get the ball rolling. And we'll put the recording on the word you want to use on the
An affidavit.
130 acres, and it's a done deal. So, Derek, did you want to just touch on that? And
Yeah, I mean, I just summarized what you said. So, to your point, we've heard over the years that there are traffic problems in Cedarville, and Our DPW director has already secured an engineering firm that we're projecting is going to be about $1.2 million to design those two rotaries. He's already working very closely with Mass DOT to get those two rotaries on the state tip project. Once that is secured, we're expecting that construction would begin within 5 or 6 years, but that the construction of itself would be fully paid for by the state and not by local taxes. So the only funds that will be used locally will be these funds over here to pay for the design. And we're only doing that just so we could advance the construction to do that. And then to your point, there's 130 acres that when town meeting approved the transfer of this property at 71 Hedges Pond Road, and then that was transferred to the foundation, there was an agreement made that 130 acres would be left in conservation. And so we'll use a portion of these funds to file that affidavit to preserve that 130 acres in perpetuity.
Thank you.
Real quick, if I may. This project took about 3 or 4 years to get done. It was not an easy project. We had under agreement with 2 other developers. We've spent, we have a 12-member board. We should have 13. We're still waiting to fill the seat of Ed Santos. But a lot of time went into this, and a lot of challenges went into this. And it's not an easy project, to get something like this done. So Stephen Cole was our executive director, put a lot of time and effort into it. He's not here today. He's on his honeymoon, so I'm sure he's tuned in somewhere watching us. I'm glad Father Time was able to bring everybody up to speed on the history. I could not have touched that and all. He knows where it began and where we are today. So I think what we're going to do is continue down this path. We have a lot of money in our coffers. We're talking about a lot of great things going forward, and that's why we want to continue with the extension and just keep this great thing rolling. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Comments from the board or questions? Mr. Blitzer?
Yes, Jack and Billy, thank you for coming before us with this presentation. Finally, we get to hear some facts, okay, and of what the foundation has been doing and does. And I knew it anyway, but sometimes all you hear is criticism, and people take that for fact, and it's simply not. I know you brought up the PGDC, Jack. I was on that for 15 years, and there's a lot that I could talk about that the PGDC did for Plymouth as far as investing, created over probably 500-600 parking spaces, and I won't get into how we did it, but so it's great to hear that. Economic development is something I think that we need desperately, and it takes a lot of time to get it done. The number one complaint I hear is taxes. People talk about taxes. It's not just that town; it's every town. But if we don't get increase our commercial tax revenue, and we're not going to be able to stabilize taxes. So, I think we've done a great job. We have 37% of open space. Our historic buildings, Pilgrim Hall is almost done. The Spire, the Arts Center, buildings that are important to this town, we've done that. Now we need to focus on economic development. And building a $40 million town hall is not economic development as far as I'm concerned. So thank you for what you're doing. I know there's more to come, and I know you can't talk about it. And I just hope the people out there, and I hope if somebody's reporting on this, that you write a nice story about what this foundation has done for Plymouth. So I thank you.
Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Halsey, Mr. Meal, I want to thank you on behalf of the folks in Cedarville. They've been waiting for this money to come through so that we can start the Rotary projects as soon as humanly possible. And I know they'll be appreciative. And so if you could just pass on the thanks to the rest of your board and to Stephen, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Mr. Canty?
Thank you, John. So I just want to highlight, we hear often a lot about the Economic Development Foundation, often a lot of misinformation about it. So I think it's just important to highlight that it is a nonprofit corporation created pursuant to Chapter 180 of the Massachusetts General Laws, created under state law, and that their objective is to try and, as the name says, encourage economic development throughout the Plymouth region and in Plymouth in particular. I also think it's worth highlighting, as the chair said at a meeting a few weeks ago, that the 5 members of this board that he serves on, including himself, is the board that he's served on with the most people that are trying to do the most to preserve and conserve our open space in our environment out of all the boards that he's ever served on. And I think that's true, but we also need some economic development in town, because while all of us up here agree that our open space is important and that things like our aquifer are precious and deserving protecting, it is also true that, at least as of right now, squirrels and trees, sadly, do not pay taxes, and that we need to have a balance between open space and economic development, not just for the tax revenue that it brings to the town, but also for the benefit of providing good living wage jobs so that more people can live and work within the same town, because so many Plymouthians have to commute outside of Plymouth in order to live in Plymouth, which is bad for their work-life balance, it's bad for their civic engagement, and it's also bad for our environment to have that many people commute. So there is an environmental issue related to that. And I would also highlight that the Economic Development Foundation did help us get the grant money for the whole tech master planning process. And I think everyone has agreed that at a minimum, a lot of the land on that 1,530.35 acres should be preserved. Some people want to see it all preserved. Some people want to see some light economic development on some of it. But at a minimum, everybody wants to see a lot of it preserved. And that is a precious parcel for the destiny of this town, both from an economic position as well as an environmental and overall town character position. And they helped with that. And they deserve the credit for that, and not the blame that they're getting for effectuating what was, at the time, a unanimous decision by town meeting and a steering committee. So I think that is very important to highlight. Some criticism is obviously warranted and expected in any action of government or of a nonprofit working with the government. But it is also important to correct the record at certain times, and I think that record should be highlighted tonight. So I want to thank the foundation, Bill, and everybody else for their work and for helping the town become a smart and balanced community. Thank you.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yeah, I'd like to have William Hallis, he has another minute. He can get up to the microphone. Billy, good to see you this evening.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say this to you, and maybe you can tell Charlie after the meeting, okay? So this is a $54 million structure, principal and interest. And respectfully, I disagree. I think that a significant investment in infrastructure in the historic downtown of this community promotes more economic development. But that's not what I got you up here to say, okay? So this is a 5-year agreement, significant investment on behalf of the community. And, Billy, I just want to say this, get it out there. You don't have to respond at all. But I want to make sure that we're not entering into on certain issues, we're not entering into a competition or an adversarial relationship. And economic development is water. Water is economic development. Water is public health. Water is public safety. And I continue to be told by the powers that be that we're not to a point of sustainability yet. So I just want to make sure that the foundation, with respect to, and again, for those individuals who focus on our agendas and look at what we're doing in executive, like, you have our back. You're supportive of us doing what we're trying to do with the state with respect to the 1,000 acres. You have our back and you're supportive of us, making sure that we get that 1,542 acres at that plant that's under the Chapter 61, and we have that 8-year agreement on, that's coming to this community. We've been working with department heads over the last several years. a couple of Stephen Cole's predecessors working on we have a vision for a multi-billion-dollar build-out of that site. Obviously, the greatest impediment right now is the U.S. Constitution, and what I mean by that is that we don't own that land. Holtec owns the land. So, having said that, if we don't get to move forward with some sort of a vision that we have, it means that they're going to hold on to that site, and they're probably going to move forward with the vision that they have for that, whether that could be small modular reactors, it could be battery storage, it could be a combination of the two, obviously with respect to the infrastructure in the switchyard, that goes into the New England grid, which we took a phenomenal site visit to a couple weeks ago to the New England ISO. On this Hedges Pond thing, just reinforcing for the public, most importantly, so you just handed us $2 million. Okay, so we went to town meeting. The agreement was $2 million and 134 acres set aside as conservation. So we're going to secure what, Mr. Brindisi, 100,000?
Right. So we have an article that's going to town meeting. There's approximately 550 parcels that have been transferred under care and custody of conservation over the last 10 years. And for whatever reason, they have never been recorded at the Registry of Deeds. So it's going to cost approximately $100,000 to record all of those parcels. And so the idea is to either include these 130 acres as part of that process, or maybe carve out a percentage of these dollars from this $2 million in order to record the 130 acres affidavit.
Right.
So
So
we're
it's
looking at
imperative
both.
that this board and the town staff and yourself follow through on that. We make sure that, we follow through on the two things that we promised in exchange for, relinquishing this. What is it, 37 acres, Billy? Yeah. 37 acres. So, and then the last thing is that there's got to be a little bit better situational awareness. And I understand that you own the land now, but sand mining has become a significant issue, especially in eastern Massachusetts. And I just want to make sure that, moving into the future, myself, I'd certainly be reluctant if we can't open it up carte blanche to somebody coming in and taking out an unlimited amount of material, which is contradictory to what we want to see. We want to see solid economic development. We want to see sustainable jobs in industries and, a little bit of an incremental boost to our commercial industrial base.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, John, just real quick, because the people that we had dealt with in the very beginning on this project, there was never a mention of gravel extraction from day one through all three people that were involved with this. This was a curveball that was hit with us after we were already under agreement. So we never, and somehow we got linked to this. It created a black mark for this. So I'm glad you brought that up, because that's something I've really wanted to clear the air on, that under no intention, we had no intentions whatsoever. And if you look at the topography of that land, it's a big hole. So you wouldn't even really think that there was that much gravel to be extracted out of there. But obviously the developer goes in there, they're going to look at it as a whole, they're going to look for any situation of what they can do to move, gravel around to, help with the project. But, everyone talks about, economic growth and so forth, and I think it's crucial. I think it's crucial to Plymouth's future. We've got a great board, but it all revolves around the people that sit here in a lot of the changes. Plymouth's had a bad reputation for many years of being very unbusiness friendly. And in a lot of it, we've had some good changes. We've got a new fire chief, and I'm not pointing out any fingers of before or after or whatever, but you do see economic growth going on. In the fact that the parcels that we don't control, we don't have a lot of say. We can bring these people in. We can reach out to them. We can make all those strides to try and do that. But at the end of the day, it's the land that we can work with the town to do better things with, and then we can spill that into other things. And that's what we like to do. We want to advise. We enjoy working with the town, with Derek, and that's why it's nice, because you got the town manager on there, the board of select, the director of planning. These people all work with a new DPW director now. There's been other people that have been in these positions, and they can really stunt economic growth. If they're asking people, if they're extorting people, this is a lot of the stuff that goes on. So there's a lot of steps to getting done what needs to get done, and there's a tremendous amount of economic growth going on right now. I mean, the Pine Hills, you see everywhere you turn around, you see a new bank going up, you see this. That's all economic growth, it's all smart growth. So, that's our goal, is to kind of keep that down that path and see what we can do to turn this into, greater, and I hope we're here in 5 years with a lot more to say. Thank you.
And I'm just going to add on the gravel removal. I believe it was either 350 yards that they originally wanted to remove, or 370, and it went for the planning board, and the planning board hired an independent team to come in and look at it, and that's how they got it. I think it was 170 or 150. So, the process definitely worked. The planning board definitely did their job, and it was a lot less than originally put out there. So I think it's only fair to follow up with that remark, John, because it did go through that process, and they did change it, and I'm glad they did, and let's move on. Let's get the facts right. And to go back in history a little bit, not too long, just a little bit. When I was first elected, and I don't know what year it was, a long time ago, and the Office of Economic Development on Lincoln Street was empty. And I remember my first campaign saying, how do you have economic development with no economic development office? And that was one of my taglines, or whatever you want to call it. And we did fill it after that. I think it was Harold Burke came in. Then after Harold, it might have been Dennis Hanks. But we've seen that. And then after that, that's how this was formed with the town. And, do we really doing it right? We can't do this because we're all town. But so that's the whole reason to why we got to have the foundation. Give or take a piece here that I may have forgotten. But that's the whole story. And it's nice to see something done. And you know me, I want things more done. I don't always say it right, but I have to answer to 60-some-odd thousand people too. So it's like, let's, get it going. I'm not a development nut. And by the way, gravel removal in this community is down to one site, if that. One. So when we use mine, I don't use that word. I don't know where that came from. I call it gravel removal, and there's one site. And if somebody else has different, bring in the scientific evidence, we'll look at it. Always. Always. At least I will. So, that being said, do we have a motion on one?
I made a motion,
Oh,
and
I'm sorry, we've gone on for so long.
that's okay. I think Mr. Golden seconded.
Okay, thank you. Any more discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Bletzer?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes, unanimous. And thank you very much again. First agenda item is the Visitor Services Board. We have 1 2-year term. Is Daniel Contrino here? Hi, would you like to come up, please? Please. Make sure the green light's on and just identify yourself for the record.
It's on. Hello, everybody. I'm Dan Contrino. I was really excited to see an opening on the Visitor Service Board. I've lived in Plymouth most of my life. I've owned a small business right down on Court Street for about 18 years. My family and myself have enjoyed the services and the events that the Visitor Service Board has provided, and this was just a great time for me to hopefully be able to volunteer and offer my perspective as a parent, a resident, and a business owner.
Thank you.
Oh, no
Any
worries.
questions from the board? Comments? Mr. Canty?
Mr. Catrino, is there anything that the Visitors Services Board is currently doing that you're aware of, that you'd like to see them continue to do if you were appointed, or anything in particular that they're not doing that you'd like to see them start doing if you were to be appointed?
No, I actually, one thing that I'm very happy to see talk about having the visitor center possibly open year-round. And of course, as a business owner, my ears and eyes are always open to public restrooms. That's a big thing downtown. I'm asked that every day, are there public restrooms? So having that down on the waterfront, I think would be fantastic. I enjoy the benefits of grant money that the VSB provides me for First Fridays, and also some of the grant money that Lee Filson over at C. Plymouth enjoys with the circuit. I see tourists and customers being driven around all over Plymouth from that. So it's I think it's a wonderful entity, and I also, being someone who's downtown, I can also maybe be a voice to people who may not know where some of the things that the VSB provides from the meals tax money is something that, like the Christmas tree, that was a big thing downtown that I was hearing people complain about, and I tried to explain this was not, this was money that was already there, so I could kind of be a voice of reason, hopefully, to people come into my store.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? No?
All right, thank you very much.
Diane Keaton? Welcome.
My name is Diane Keaton. I'm a longtime resident here in Plymouth. My family grew up here. My children have graduated from North High School, 2 from North, 1 from South. I was involved with the town back in 2001 as a crossing guard / as meter officer for the town of Plymouth. And I'm on an empty nest syndrome right now, and I'm looking to volunteer, and I enjoy Plymouth. I love Plymouth. We've been here a long time, and they've done a great job with the visiting center. Like he said, it would be good to see it 24 hours, and I've loved everything in the town.
Thank you. Any questions? Mr. Canty?
Ms. Keaton, is there anything that the Visitors Services Board is currently doing that you'd like to see them continue to do if you were to be appointed, or anything that they're not doing currently that you would like to see them start doing were you to be appointed?
Maybe something for a little bit for young teenagers and children to get involved. My kids are grown, but I do know they do the Halloween, and they do a little Halloween around town, the trick-or-treating, and the Christmas lighting is still on every Friday after Thanksgiving. But maybe a little bit more for the teenagers and the younger children.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you. Michael Lombard? Jay, no, he's not online, right? Michael Lombard? No? Okay. Wish of the board?
I would,
Nomination.
I'm prepared to make a nomination.
Okay.
I would nominate Daniel Contrino for the 2-year term. I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion? Mr. Canty and Mr. Blitzer.
So I appreciate both of the applicants that applied, and
One more nomination.
okay, we have another nomination.
Yep.
All right, I'll hold my comments then.
I'd like to nominate Diane Keaton.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Blitzer, second by Mr. Mahoney. Discussion? Okay, so now we just go back to the,
Okay. I appreciate both the applicants that applied that attended. Obviously, the other applicant didn't attend, presumably due to a scheduling conflict, and we have a preference for appointing people that we are able to interview, generally speaking. I think both applicants have merits in their application. I do, however, believe that having a downtown business owner that, the type of store that Mr. Contrino owns that deals with a lot of, like souvenirs and things people that attract tourists as well as residents, would have a unique perspective to what people in downtown, where a lot of our tourist business does come, into town a unique perspective of what they're talking about, what they need, what they'd like to see in Plymouth, as well as a perspective of what we are doing in Plymouth that is working for businesses like his and what is not working for businesses like his. I think that would be an asset to an area of town that we need more input from, and that is very dependent on the type of work that the Visitors Services Board seeks to achieve, trying to bring more people into Plymouth from outside of Plymouth. So for me, that is the differentiating factor, and I would certainly encourage, if she is not successful, Ms. Keaton to apply for a future opening if and when one does become available.
Okay, I just want to let the board know that Mr. Lombard is online.
Oh,
So, do you
Okay.
want to hear from Mr. Lombard and
And
then
then I'll come
do the
back.
nomination?
Yes, sure,
All
yep.
right, okay.
all right.
Running a little late. Mr. Lombard, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Mr. Lombard, are you muted? Yeah, there we go.
He's
I
cur-
believe it's muted. I can't seem to.
There you go. We can hear you now. Can you speak up a little?
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to speak before you. My name is Mike Lombard. I'm a Plymouth resident. I've lived here since 2004. After retiring, I've been in a lot of tourism type business here for my second career, post-retirement career. I was on the Mayflower for 6 or 7 years, Mayflower 2, meeting all of the tourists. I also was over at Edaville for 5 or 6 years, once again, talking to the tourism. I worked for the Ride Circuit program for a couple of years, and now I'm a small business owner of a tour company that operates down in Plymouth called Vicky's Plymouth Tour. You may have seen it. We have an electric vehicle that goes around for an hour tour with tourists. We point out all of the high-end points on Plymouth, all that Plymouth has to offer. We narrate the story of the pilgrims as we go along. Last year, we had over 1,500 customers. This year, we're looking for quite a bit more. We brought in a second car, and right now, we're actually negotiating with the Hotel 1620 of having a tourism drive into history package offered by the hotel. But anyway, the other two candidates I listened to sound like excellent candidates as well. And I believe that anybody that gets on the Tourism Bureau of the three of us would be an excellent candidate. Do you have any questions for me?
Okay, any questions from Mr. Canty?
Mr. Lombard, if you were to be appointed to the Visitors Services Board, is there anything that the Visitors Services Board is currently doing that you want to see them continue to do, or anything that they're not currently doing that you would like to see them do if you were to be appointed?
Well, currently, I believe they're doing a wonderful job. I've been to 2 or 3 of their meetings, and I do like the way they share and look at all of the grants they're giving with great detail. If I was to say one thing that I'd like to see maybe a little bit more of, is to recognize, maybe mention that the contribution is based on the hotel tax that comes in, and that's where the funds come from originally. But that's just, something I've been thinking about, but that's all. But otherwise, I think the board does a wonderful job.
Thank you, Mr. Lombard.
Any other questions, Mr. Blutta? No? Okay, so, thank you, Mr. Lombard. So, we have one nomination, correct? Two. Charlie made his two? Okay, that's right. Mr. Golden?
I'd like to nominate Mr. Lombard.
Okay, so we have 3 nominations.
Second.
Okay.
Right.
All right, nomination by Mr. Golden, second by Mr. Mahoney. All right, now in this case, would you take each one nomination and see?
I would call on individual members of the board and see which of the 3 candidates they want.
Okay.
Can I make some comments first?
Yes, absolutely.
I just have a couple comments. This is a tough, we got 3 good candidates. Dan, we have a business owner which has a stake in the downtown And I appreciate that. And I know Diane, she was an enforcer. She walked the whole, she knows the downtown waterfront. I've seen her dealing with tourists, and she does a great job, and she knows what's going on down there, so she's got a good insight to it. And then, Mike, if you're the guy I think you are, I can't see you, but I think you've driven me around, and you're a gentleman, and you're definitely an ambassador for the town. So, like I said, I could vote for any one of you tonight. You're three good candidates. So, anyway, thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to go right with the first name, Danielle Contrino. Mr. Golden.
Are you asking us who we're voting for, or are you asking if I'm voting for Mr.
Yes, if you vote for Mr. Catrino. Mr. Blitzer. Mr. Canty.
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney.
Yes.
And myself, yes. So we're appointing Mr. Catrino. And thank yous for applying. The other two applicants, Diane Keaton and Mr. Lombard, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Select Board Policy Review, Connor Anderson. Welcome, Connor.
If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I'll introduce Mr. Connor Anderson. So he has been with the town since 2017. He started as a public records officer and archivist. As the board has had for the last 3 years, a goal to review all policies and either update them, rescind them, or draft new policies. And so Mr. Connor Anderson and Ms. Jade Anderton have really dived into this project and have done a review going back to the 1970s, I think, right, Connor? Yep. And so we're going to start this process. Connor's here to present some of the policies this evening, and you'll probably see him more often coming to try to get through all the various policies. As you'll hear today, there's policies that haven't been looked at for decades, and so we want to modify those policies and make sure they're more 21st century. So I'll turn it over to Connor at this point.
So like the town manager said, Connor Anderson, municipal archivist, and I act as the records access officer for the town. In alignment with the board's FY25 goals, the executive assistant Jade Anderton and myself have been going through all the pat-down policies. We've identified 105 that were previously under the select board's purview. Some of these are online, most of them are not. They were buried in filing cabinets. So out of these 105, we're recommending that 14 of them be rescinded tonight. These are policies that are either just no longer applicable or they have direct conflicts with other policies that were approved more recently. I can go through them. They're in your packets. I can go through them all at once, and then if you have questions at the end, or I can go through them one at a time, and you guys can ask questions as we go along, or whatever's easier for you.
Hey, I think if you just touch base on them, just read them off, and then if somebody has a question, we can go right back to it, if that's all right.
Yep. So we have the policy format policy from 1997. We have the committee appointment calls policy from 1990. The departmental response to memorandums policy from 1979. The employee parking policy from 1979. Hours of operation for town offices from 1982. The media/information policy from 1995. Policy on cell phones during work hours from 2011. Posting of docket/Board of Selectmen from 1979, requests for copies by citizens from 1979, social media guidelines from 2013, temperature control from 1979, the town hall facility/office workspace policy from 2017, the town website advertisements policy from 2012, and the use of town council policy from 1979.
Thank you. Any questions on any of those policies?
Yeah, I have one.
Mr. Golden, then Mr. Blitzer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, thank you for being here tonight, Connor. I found the temperature control.
That's my favorite one.
To be the most egregious of these policies.
Yes.
For those of you who are at home, want to know the town had a policy that we wouldn't let the temperature go below 78 in the summertime. it's almost 80 degrees, or above 65 in the wintertime, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
So I'm happy to see that one go. I do, however, want to draw some attention to the posting of the docket of the Board of Selectmen. This policy, although quite old, I think is still germane for the work that we do. It states that a tentative docket for the Board of Selectmen's meeting, upcoming meeting, shall be posted and made available to the press by 4:30 p.m. on the Wednesday prior to the meeting. The final docket for the Board of Selectmen's upcoming meeting shall be posted and made available to the press by 3 p.m. on the Friday prior to the meeting. And in your note to us, Connor, you mentioned that this was potentially in conflict with Select Board policy number SB 012423, which was established on January 24th of 2023 by this board. I won't read the whole policy, but I think the part that is relevant to I think the conflict is section 2.2.2, which states that all submissions must give the public 48 hours of notice before the meetings occur, not including Saturdays, Sundays, or state legal holidays. To meet this requirement, agendas must be received by the town clerk's office no later than 3 p.m. or Fridays by 11 a.m. on the last day, which allows for 48 hours notice of 48 hours of proper notice. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And this language mimics the open meeting law, correct? I would suggest that the fact that it says no later than 3 p.m. or 11 a.m. on Fridays doesn't necessarily conflict with the creation of a tentative and a final docket for the select board meeting. I think we would need to update the language here, and I don't think it's necessarily for the press, but for the benefit of the public. But I would like to see this policy stay in existence and start being acted upon. I know that, we often get our packets on Fridays, and I'd prefer to have additional time with the information to be able to digest it in the week prior to each of these meetings. So my suggestion would be, I'm perfectly happy to see every other policy on this list go by the wayside, but this one I'd like for us to keep in place and try to maybe update it to bring it in line with the other policy.
And that's part of the process as well. We're going to go through, and the ones that we aren't rescinding, we're going to go through and review and see if we can update them, and so I will take note of that.
I'd be happy to hear what other board members have to say on the matter.
Hi, Connor.
Hi.
With the Eversource prices, maybe we ought to revisit that temperature control and maybe enforce it a little bit. No, I agree with what David said on we may want to look at that. So, anyway, thank you.
Mr. Canty?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I agree with Mr. Golden, both that the temperature control policy is ridiculous and made me laugh when I read it, that we would keep it at 78 degrees in the summer. It's just, it's an oven.
A minimum of 78 degrees.
Yeah, that is, must have been a smelly town hall. But beyond, I'm glad we've been ignoring it. But I also found it interesting that we have a format policy for select board policies that we've also been just ignoring. So that's an interesting concept in and of itself.
The format policy doesn't follow the format policy.
Yes, right. So that's a bizarre policy in and of itself. But in terms of what Mr. Golden said more substantively in regards to getting the packet and the agenda posted, I know that often we get items that come in when they come in, but it is challenging. I find it challenging sometimes when there's something that comes in at like 11 or 12, or sometimes Jade is here past noon when we close at noon, giving us this packet. It's not Jade's fault. She's getting it when it comes to her. But if there's something in that we need to follow up with a town employee, or department head, division head, something like that, if it happens at just before or after noon on a Friday and they're home, like generally I believe very strongly in like a work-life balance. I think the people that work for the town work very hard, and they deserve to have time with their friends and family and a life every once in a while. So getting our packet when we still have time where they're at the office to ask them questions within a reasonable time for them to respond, because the alternative is I have to wait till Monday, and then I don't have that much time for them to be able to answer that question and get back to me. So getting the packet sooner when possible, and obviously not everything is going to come in like things come in late, things happen, we can make exceptions here and there. But if we got the vast majority of the packets earlier and could ask substantive questions to employees while they're at work as opposed to pestering them on the weekend and interfering with their work-life balance and therefore making it harder to retain and recruit good employees as an aside, that I think would be an improvement to the process. And so whether we maybe we keep this one around for now and look to like keep it in place until we can replace it with a more modernized version of it, because obviously there are some details of it from 1979 that should probably be tweaked, but I think the thrust of the 1979 policy is still germane, as Mr. Golden said. So perhaps if we have a motion on these items, we could omit that particular one for the time being, depending on the will of my colleagues.
Any more discussion? Do we have a motion?
I would make a motion to rescind all of the listed policies with the exception of the one titled Posting of Docket/Board of Selectmen Policy 1979 in the cover sheet.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion? Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Blutzer?
Yes.
Mr. Golden?
Yes.
And myself, yes, unanimous.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could make a comment regarding the 1979 policy. So I think what would make most sense is to look at the 2023 policy and incorporate some of those ideas from 1979. I would caution the Select Board that I'm pretty accurate, I could guess that back in 1979, they were probably meeting twice a month, if not once a month. So there was more time for staff to prepare, especially if it's every other week. What I envision if the packets were to be produced by Wednesday, we're coming off of a Tuesday night meeting and then having to turn around a packet the very next day. So if we're going to meet every week. So that's a challenge, but that's something that we just have to work through. And I would also say the other challenge, oftentimes what we see, especially during the summer, are businesses looking for a one-day liquor license. And I know the chairman and I have talked of having to order special meetings because someone didn't get their paperwork in on time. So those are some of the nuances I think that we would have to work out if we were to have a hard and fast Wednesday deadline for packets.
Mr. Canty?
So I agree that those are some things that would need to be worked out. I think if we implemented something like that, we'd give some lead time, like effective July 1st. You have to have, don't do it next week. You have to do it by that. And not only giving department and division heads the lead time to do that, but also the private businesses that need these permits and other things so that they can adjust accordingly. And again, like with certain things, exceptions could be made for exceptional circumstances. But I will point out, I know it's a different committee, but when I was on the Advisory and Finance Committee as the chair there, we had a policy that we were not enforcing, that you had to get our packet in a week in advance. And we started enforcing that policy, and there were some growing pains, but once people adjusted to that, it improved operations significantly, because we used to get our packets like 2 days before those meetings, and that was not enough time for 15 people, with most of whom had day jobs and other stuff, to digest some of that substantive material. But by giving everybody fair notice before a town meeting cycle, they were able to adjust. And now it is few and far between that there are exceptions to that, at least when I last served on there. And it improved operations and effectiveness of the, it gave committee members time to do site visits. If they wanted to look at a project, they could do that. Whereas if they got it 2 days before and they didn't even know where the address was, that was challenging. So I think it had significant improvements to the total operations and is worth some of those
those grown. But I do agree that we would need to give people notice to adjust to that.
Mr. Blitzer?
And you brought up good points, Mr. Brindisi, and I think we're not voting on the policy tonight, but I think we have time to talk about it on that policy. So we ought to take a look at the 23 and 79 and put together a set of policies that works in 2025. So, but you brought up a good point, and I think we need maybe a agenda item at some point and discuss it, and we can vote on it then. So, anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Although I like the idea, I have a lot of reserve with it because I see already working with it the way it is, sometimes things just don't, and it's going to happen. You can have a deadline, and, you know, as the chairman, I'm not going to tell somebody or a business that because they didn't make a deadline, I'm not going to hear it, or I couldn't call a special meeting in some cases. So my suggestion is to outline something, and let's try it for a month or two. And if it works, then vote it in, rather than, you know, voting something in and then not having it work. That's all. I mean, let's give staff a chance. I mean, she's sitting here all night tonight, and you want her to have that thing posted. I mean, she's not, you know, she's going to sleep too. Tonight's all right, you know, and I'm just probably going to say I didn't need to say it, but same as Derek. I mean, I'm not saying I'm against it, but let's try it just voluntary, if that's okay, for a month, see what if there's any problems. If there's not, happily we go on our way. If not, we'll tweak it so we'll have compromise so everybody's happy. How's that? Just because of experience. I never sat on the FinCom, but I do know, though, this one here didn't get this in to be advertised or something for 2 weeks and this and that, and then I'm saying, okay, how many times have we done it? Well, I said, you guys mind if we have a quick meeting on Zoom?
Right.
And, you know, we go out of our way to make people happy, so I'm not saying I'm against doing it, but I think we need to let's just run with it for at least a month and a half. If it works, put it in.
I would add to, Mr. Chairman, if I could,
Please.
something like a license or an admin note, by their very nature, are generally something that we're able to approve with little. We have exceptions to those where we have more substantive. But something like that came late. I think that's different than like if it's a substantive agenda item or like a lease or a contract that we're signing. Like those are the ones that more time would be beneficial. Whereas if somebody wants like a one-day malt and liquor license or something, or an amplified music permit, I know personally I'm generally not looking to call up staff and talk about that in ad nauseum. But I think for certain things it would be certainly beneficial for substance.
Let's try it, and
Yeah.
you know, and then
See what happens.
that's it. I'm in.
Okay.
I just want to make sure if we do it, then we tweak it again. Let's just listen to the recommendations. Well, get what you need in there, and let's try it. And if it works,
Right.
then we'll go forward. Because I know you don't want failure either.
No,
That's
success.
not an option.
It shouldn't be. But yes, right.
That's an old one from when I first got elected.
Yeah.
All right. So, is that okay, Mr. Brindisi? I hope we didn't confuse anyone.
Nope,
but-
I'm tracking.
Article 29, Citizens Petition, Home Rule Petition, Digital Legal Notices. Mr. Cirque.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Rich Cirque, Precinct 2 Town Meeting member and the petitioner in this article. This article proposes a home rule petition that, if passed by town meeting and subsequently approved on Beacon Hill and signed by the governor, will give the town the option to publish legal notices generated by the town online. State law currently requires that all legal notices must be published in a print newspaper. But we all know that since that state law was written, delivery systems to inform the public have dramatically changed. As a result, the now antiquated requirement that legal notices must be published in print has had the following sad consequences. First of all, it results in less notice rather than more notice because far fewer people read the Old Colony than read the Plymouth Independent. And I want to explicitly state that I'm not here on behalf of the Plymouth Independent. I'm here as a town meeting member. I'm not on the board of the Plymouth Independent. Access to the Old Colony is limited to those who pay for a subscription. The Old Colony has just 2,000 subscribers left, while the Independent has 24,000 subscribers. Print publication is substantially more expensive than online publication will be. The town can expect savings based on the general market rate for digital-only notices being less than print notices costs. The requirement that legal notices be published in print results in a windfall for print newspapers as opposed to online newspapers. And at this point, I want to give credit to Mr. Canty for working with me in terms of massaging the language in the proposed motion that will come to town meeting. I think it's now ready for prime time, and I'll be asking the Finance Committee to make it their motion. But if the petition is passed by town meeting, it'll then go to Beacon Hill for its approval. And I want to tell you in that context that two other towns, Bedford and Arlington, have submitted similar home rule petitions which have been approved on Beacon Hill. Our home rule petition was patterned after those home rule petitions. There are currently two other towns, Franklin and Lincoln, whose home rule petitions are awaiting approval by Beacon Hill. All members of our state delegation, Senator Fernandez, Representative Badger, and Representative Lanatra, are in support of this home rule petition. And finally, I should tell you that a bill has been filed on Beacon Hill to amend the state law to allow all legal notices, not just those generated by the town, to be published online. But passage of that law will take longer than passage of our home rule petition. If that law passes, then our home rule petition will no longer be necessary. So this is intended to bridge the expected gap between the approval of our home rule petition and the approval of the amendment to state law. I've been to a number of caucuses, and the members of our group will be covering all of the caucuses. And I've been to Precinct 12, 3, and last night was before the Committee of Precinct Chairs. And none of the people before whom we presented had any negative comments to make. So I submit to you that this is an idea whose time has come long ago. And I think there's no negative consequence in doing it. And I urge you to do it. Keep in mind, this would only govern notices that were generated by Town Hall. Foreclosure notices, for example, from the land court are not covered by this petition because we can't impose our will on what the land court does in Boston. But if the state law is amended, then online notices are an option for everyone. And that's my presentation.
I have a few questions. So why do we need this change? The other night, I heard you say it's going to save the town money.
I don't know exactly what the cost to the Plymouth Independent will charge for including these notices in its online paper, but I have been assured it will be less than what the town currently pays to Gannett for a notice in a paper that no one reads.
So let's talk about, well, there's four options I see here. A, the print newspaper that's going by the wayside, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that may not be an option soon.
Well, the board could, going to make a choice if this bill passes, make a choice as to whether or not it wants notices to go in the print newspaper or not.
But if you had a prediction, you think it's going to go by the wayside, the Old Colony will go by the wayside, because it has to be a print that covers Plymouth.
I'm sorry?
It has to be a print newspaper that has a circulation in
Oh, sure.
Plymouth.
Yeah,
So-
and the online would have to be,
No, I'm talking about the print. I'm starting with A.
oh, okay, yeah, by
So-
law, it's going to have to be
So
a
A could
newspaper
be-
of general circulation in the town of Plymouth.
So now let's go to B. An online news site reporting news and opinion which satisfies all criteria for print or digital publication.
The motion that will be made after my interaction with Mr. Canty, which was very positive, the motion that will be made will be a print-free online publication or the website of a print-free online news site reporting local news and opinion.
Which,
Now is the Plymouth Independent because
okay,
there's no other
so
one
we
yet.
have one. There's one option there, Plymouth
At the
Independent.
present time.
Okay. Town-wide website, does that mean that we can do this, we can use that town website to do this?
Well, a person wanting to know could look at the town website and, I presume, read on the town website the notice that we're seeking to have published in the Plymouth Independent and is now published only in the Old Colony Memorial.
What I'm saying is, option C, is that something that we can do, option C?
Yeah,
I'm asking your opinion. You're
Sure.
the one that crafted this.
sure. This
Okay.
just adds another tool in the toolbox. It doesn't take any away.
So option C is available.
Yeah,
Okay, and then option D, I'm not sure.
a statewide website. You can-
And our townwide is a repository, so that would be,
Yeah.
you're comfortable with that would be.
I can't imagine that this board would not take advantage of an online newspaper to give notice to people, but would instead choose to prefer a statewide website
No,
or
I-
a townwide website.
Personally,
Yeah.
the townwide website makes the most sense to me.
Well,
Right. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
that's up to you.
Yep.
That's up to you.
So
Mr.
my-
Bletzer, let me just say this in all candor. I hope this decision is not based upon antipathy toward the Plymouth Independent.
Why would you say this?
I'm just saying I hope.
Mr. Cirque, why would you possibly say that to me? If I mentioned one word about that, why are you saying that?
Because
To me.
I just want to make sure that everybody's voting on the basis of the right motivation.
I'm going to stop right there.
Okay.
I'm going to stop right there, so, anyway, thank you.
Canty, then Mr. Golden, then Mr. Mahoney.
Thank you, Mr. Cirque. I appreciate you mentioning our conversations about this. So I do support what you're looking to do here. I do agree with you that the current state law, as it currently exists, has a preference for what would currently be called legacy media, print newspapers, which largely have evaporated on the local scene. I would say that the Old Colony Memorial is more like the USA Today of Massachusetts than it is about local news coverage at this point. And I agree that very few people are actually reading it. If you are reading it, you're not getting local coverage. I don't need to say more about that. This is, though, as I told you, it being a citizen's petition, the Select Board can't modify the language within it. It gets on the warrant whether we vote in favor of it or not, procedurally, unlike other articles with the exception of CPC articles. But there is, as I pointed out to you, but will, for the benefit of the public, point out that in in the proposed legislation as it exists in the warrant without an amendment, in Part B, the part that I think, as I expressed to you, creates the problem is, as currently written, is the section which reads, which satisfies all criteria for print or digital publication as set forth in Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 4, Section 13B. The reason I believe that is a problem is because the criteria in 13B say that such a publication needs to have 1, a newspaper's print publication, 2, on the newspaper's website, and on a statewide website that may be maintained as a repository for such notices, provided that if they don't have such a website, a statewide website shall satisfy that requirement. Because it has parts 1 and 2, a newspaper's print publication and a website, and something like The Independent does not have a print publication, and incorporating that, all the criteria as listed, is problematic. So procedurally, just so we're clear, FinCom makes the main motions at town meeting generally.
Yep.
So if they made a motion to approve the article as presented, you would then want to request either, you could request at their hearing when you go before them, which I think you're doing tomorrow, or you could do it at town meeting floor. You'd request a motion to amend the main motion to excise the part of B which reads, which satisfies all criteria for print or digital publication as set forth in General Law, Chapter 4, Section 13B. If you get rid of that, you could do what you're looking to do here without any issues.
Mr. Canty, what I intend to do when I get before the Finance Committee
Yep.
is give them my proposed motion and ask them to make that motion under Article 29. And that's the language that you and I agreed upon.
Yep.
And then there'll be no need for me to amend anything. I'm
Okay.
going to ask them to make that motion their motion.
Okay. You could try that. My suggestion might be a cleaner way of doing it, but whichever way you want to achieve getting rid of that language is 6 in one hand, half a dozen in the other. Doesn't really matter. I do, just as I told you, I can only vote on the language that's before me. I can't modify it, so I'd have to vote against it tonight, but I do support what you're trying to do, and if that were removed from what's at town meeting floor, I would be in support of it. But
In other words, if you're saying as long as the main motion contains the language that you and I agreed upon, or as long as I make a motion to amend the article language, you could agree upon it.
that would be correct.
Okay.
Because I do think The Independent is reporting on local news.
Yep.
They are, without getting into it, we may not always agree on every individual story, but you never do with a news source. But I'd rather see the town have the opportunity to give funding to that organization than to have to do it to something like the Old Colony Memorial, which is now basically a non-entity in the community.
Is there a possibility that you could vote in favor of it, provided that the Finance Committee makes the motion with the language that we agreed upon, or that the Finance Committee accepts an amendment from me on the floor with that language?
Well, because I would just say procedurally, because citizens' petitions get on the warrant without the select board's input, after this hearing, no one is going to care how I vote on this, to be honest. So I'm just putting on the record that that's my opinion on it, but like no one is going to, they're going to reference the FinCom vote, and they'll reference the debate at town meeting, but no one's going to care how I vote on it. But I just want to say I am in support of what you're trying to do, and if that is what is on the final motion, I would be in favor of it, and if I'm asked any questions about it, I would certainly say that. But I can only vote on what's before me. I can't make a conditional vote, so I just wanted to clarify what my vote means.
I just want to be able to say, to hear on town meeting floor that the select board supports the motion.
I understand that. I would tell you I support, if the motion excises that you could say that I support it, even despite my vote tonight.
You say that again?
If the motion that town meeting ultimately votes on
Yeah.
excises the language that I've highlighted, then you could say that I am in support of it, regardless of how I vote tonight.
Fine.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Golden?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for being here, Mr. Cirque. My colleagues concerns notwithstanding, I plan to vote in favor of this. I just want to clarify. So Section 2, the means of legal notice publication. There's a bunch of language, and then it says that we may satisfy the requirements by one or more of the following means, and it lists
Right.
the A through D options. Mr. Bletzer asked about a townwide website, option C, a townwide website that may be maintained as a repository for such notices. I just want to be clear that because this says one or more of the following means,
Yeah.
we could simply do the town website as the posting of legal notices, correct?
You could,
Okay, thank you.
but I think that you would be making a mistake.
I'm not going to make any judgment about that because this board actually doesn't direct where we post notices, as far as I'm aware. It's the town staff that makes those decisions. But I think the spirit of this is that we need to get away from print media, and I agree with
I
that.
know it's been said that Plymouth, like many other towns, is a news desert.
Indeed.
Well, if that's the case, continuing the metaphor, I would say an online newspaper like the Plymouth Independent is the oasis.
Richard, I applaud your initiative. This is just a natural progression of where we're going, and I support this.
I'm sorry, say it again?
All right, Mr.
Thank you.
Bletzer, let's go. Pick up the pace, man.
You're going to be happy to know, you answered my question, you'll see.
Okay.
I understand that we're heading towards the online, you know, the print is going by the wayside. I just want to make sure that there's other options.
Sure.
We just have one option. And so I am in favor because we have the option of the town website, which we created that website. We spent a lot of money to do that. I would like to be able to use it more and expand it more. And if we have more use, we might, and more income come in, you know, from that. With that being said, I have a lot of respect for you. You and I go back and forth, but we also sit together.
Yeah.
We're not enemies.
Right.
Right? So, as an elected town meeting member, I'm holding you to the same standard that you hold us.
Yeah.
Transparency. You expect it from us.
Sure.
I appreciate it.
Sure.
So, with that being said, I just want to make sure that you started off, you're not representing the independent,
Yeah.
but you are a founding donor. Okay?
How does the fact that I financially
It
made a
doesn't matter.
donation
As
to the
long as
Plymouth
you
Independent disqualify me?
As long as you disclose that, that's all. You're a founding donor.
I'm
Okay?
proud of it, and it doesn't
You should-
constitute
that's
any
fine.
conflict of interest.
No, but just for transparency, that's all. I said it to you the other night. That's all.
I put my money where my mouth is.
And I'm going to support you because we have a couple of options here, not just one.
Great.
So, all right?
Great.
So, but I had to step back for a minute because of you coming at me about the
You know it was coming.
my apathy for the independents. So it's, I'm not going to get into that fight, trust me.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you very much.
I just have one quick question. Has there been a problem in the town's advertising?
In the town what?
Has there been a problem in the past with the town's advertisements?
With the advertisements?
Yeah.
No.
Any complaints?
No. Most
So
of
then
the
why do?
advertisements.
So then why do we need this?
Well, most of the advertisements are not generated by, well, most of the advertisements that appear in the newspaper are paid for by the petitioners to the zoning board, the planning board, the select board on liquor licenses. And when they get published in the Old Colony, I think we'll see that the cost is higher than the Plymouth Independent will charge. And you can make the comparison when you decide which medium to use. But, I mean, I think it's, right now you cannot use the Plymouth Independent because of the state law that says print. And all I'm saying is, you know, it's ironic for me to be offering a technological advancement because I'm very backward technology. And so I'm a poor spokesman for this.
Well, I guess, let me just finish. If there's no problem, so I scratch my head because you said the state's trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So every other time we hear the state's trying to do something, we usually wait and then see what the state does, and if they do it, then we don't have to do it,
That's right.
except for this case.
I suspect the state law will pass, and so I'm trying to bridge the gap between now and then.
And let me ask this, we have a town website, Mr. Brindisi, I don't know if you know the answer, but rather than take the applicant's money and send it to anybody, could the town charge for it? So in other words, if we were paying $25 to advertise in whatever land,
Yeah.
could we spend the $25 and use it on the town website? In other words, could we charge to
the
do the
current
same
process,
thing everyone else is doing?
yeah,
or-
the current process is we post with the Old Colony Memorial because it's the only print publication, and so we spend about $25,000 a year printing legal advertisements. As far as your question about the website, this language mentions that the website being a repository, so I don't know if this would be considered a legal posting if Mr. Cirque is defining it as a repository, but that's a question I would have.
Well, does the town have a website that could accept, or does accept already, notices that are generated by the town for board meetings and committee meetings?
We have the ability to post anything on the town website.
But do you do that?
No.
No. See, no.
But that's not, because that's not the legal process. The legal process right now is a print publication,
Right.
so we follow that process. But with this language here, though, it says a townwide website that may be maintained as a repository for such notices.
Yeah.
So as a repository, to me, that's just a location where you store information,
Right.
but would not be considered a legal posting. So what's your position on that? Is it a legal posting or not if it goes on the website? Because you call it a repository. You use the term repository for such notices.
I think well, you tell me.
Well, I think the language that's involved there sort of considers the town's website right now is a general purposes website, and
Right.
I think it's real. Like, the town could create a website that is a repository that you could look through a catalog of all these legal notes, which I think is what they're talking about. I think adding that feature to the existing website might be onerous, but the town could choose to create a website that serves that purpose. Whether that would be in our best interest or not would be a matter of policy, like we were talking about earlier. And then as to what Mr. Cirque is trying to do and what we currently we put it in the Old Colony because that's what's legally allowed and is also for lack of a better substitute, is the most commonly read physical local newspaper, right? So this would give the town the option to choose something, the Independent or some equivalent that may come along that does not exist, to do that instead, should we choose to do so. Because right now, something like the Old Colony benefits from the existence of the law, even though it doesn't cover local coverage, local stories, local issues, and it's a significant cash windfall for they're the only show in town by law that gets to do that. So I think, and there are a number of moneyed interests that would like to see that stay the case, that are lobbying to keep the state law unchanged so that these ghost newspapers can continue to derive revenue from that. So I think there is a benefit to having a local law that allows us the flexibility to put money in an organization that is actually covering local issues and servicing residents' needs. And nothing in Mr. Cirque's proposal requires us to do so. It just allows us to, with, of course, the caveat that I want that particular language to be correct. But I think it's a net positive. It's an option. And those are my thoughts and opinions on it.
Thank you.
All set?
For purposes of discussion, I would make a motion to approve Article 29
And recommend to town meeting?
and recommend that town meeting approve it as well.
I'll second.
Okay, how do we motion and second when we don't have the right language. Are you going to change the language from now till it gets to the FinCom?
He is.
Because if it is, how do we can't vote on it? We went through this a couple weeks ago.
Well, we can, so with a citizen's petition, we can't modify the language as it currently exists. So in my opinion, I'm going to vote on what the language currently is. But as I told Mr. Cirque, if that language were to change, my opinion would change along with it. But I can't vote on something that is yet to be. I can only vote on that which is.
Right, and that being said, I'm a no. Okay, any more discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
No.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, no. 2 noes, 3 yes.
Thank you very much.
Spring town meeting warrant? Mr. Brindisi?
So now that we've completed all of the article reviews, you have before you in your packet a final version of the 2025 spring annual town meeting warrant. It has been reviewed by council, and it is ready for your signature, if so approved.
Mr. Canty?
I would make a motion that we vote to execute and sign the 2025 spring annual town meeting warrant.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Golden. Discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Blitzer?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes, unanimous. Anyone wishing to speak under public comment? Please make sure the green light's on and you identify yourself for the record.
Good evening. My name is Bill Arienti. I live at 23 Highland Ave in Manamet. I'm wearing this coat tonight for a reason. It resembles a coat in a picture that was painted by Norman Rockwell many years ago called The Freedom of Speech. There's no greater example of the freedom of speech than the vote. It's vital to our survival and the right and responsibility of every person in this country. Our nation and our government is built upon the right to vote, and it is the most sacred duty of every level of government, not only to support that right, but to facilitate the task as much as possible. There are limits to which the municipalities can provide. However, it is the job of the government to make it easier for the people to vote, not the people to make it easier for the government to do its job. I agree that some streamlining within the system in Plymouth can be beneficial. However, such a draconian dismantling of the Plymouth election system that happened last week will only cause a decline in voter turnout by disenfranchising seniors, physically challenged, and low-income citizens. In a time when we should be encouraging people to vote, this action takes Plymouth backwards. I therefore call upon Select Board members, Canty, Blitzer, or Quintal, to make a motion to reconsider their vote, to reduce the number of polling places to 4. If reconsideration should prevail, I respectfully request that the Select Board call for a public hearing on this matter, establishing a committee of citizens for their input on how to reduce the number of polling locations in both a civically and fiscally responsible manner. I understand that this may cause the next scheduled election to be held with 15 polling places in use. But as Plymouth prides itself on being a representative government, it is the voice of the people that must be represented as much as possible. I ask one of you to make a motion of reconsideration, to bring this back up, not to take action tonight, but to hear from the people. I put this out, and I have heard from almost 100 people in 3 days saying how disappointed they are.
This is something that affects everyone, and we cannot continue, we cannot bring it down to 4.
Mr. Arianti, do you need much more time?
30 seconds, please.
Okay.
We have 100 square miles of area. We have 70,000 people, 50,000 voters. Granted, we don't all show up, but when you have a lot of seniors, which we do have, having to park, and they will have to park hundreds of yards away once this happens, and having them travel or be physically handicapped or challenged and having to walk 100 yards just to the polling place and maybe wet outside, it's unfair. I ask that you reconsider. It doesn't mean that it's over. You can still vote to do this, but at least have the input of the people. Thank you. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
We don't do questions or public comment.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Good evening. Scott Vecchi from Precinct 1. As you know, I was an elected member of the last Charter Commission, and I sat right where you sit for 2 years, sometimes a couple nights a week, thinking of ways to improve our town. The overriding concern of most of that process was voter engagement. It was about how to make more people vote, how to increase the dismal turnout that we have in municipal elections, and how to increase the voters' response to our government. Personally, I'm outraged by last week's vote. The fact that we would close any polling places is abhorrent to our democracy. To do so with no public hearings, no independent study, speaks volumes. And after 2 years of hearing how people in this community want more people to participate, that action was 180 degrees from that. And 3 months before a municipal election isn't a good look. That on its face alone has made many people concerned. And every person I have spoken with is outraged by this. I strongly encourage the board to reverse that vote, to leave the 14 polling places. If the town clerk needs a trailer, if they need to spend $34,000, and the purpose of that is to get more people and to facilitate more access, so be it. But I ask of you, what is the cost of one disenfranchised voter? I don't think you can put a dollar value on it, and it's definitely not a savings to the town. So I strongly encourage you to reverse your decision of last week, to leave the 14 polling places, and to listen to the public. If we want to have public hearings, and we want to have an independent study, and we want to do something with transparency for all of the voters of the Plymouth to see, then so be it. But not with almost no notice, a 5-minute presentation, and then we disenfranchise half the voters of the town of Plymouth. I strongly encourage you to reconsider this decision. I thank you for your time.
Joe Hutchinson, I'm a town meeting member from Precinct 17. At last Tuesday's board meeting, you were given 2 choices, but neither voters nor town meeting members were part of any planning process for something that is as important as changing voting locations. And so I understand that under Mass General Law, you get to do whatever you want. You have a lot of power. I'd ask that you consider the obvious third choice, which is leaving the voting locations alone. They were set by a board who worked with the public, and there's no one complaining about them that I've heard. I haven't heard people saying, geez, there's too many too many polling locations. And this is a problem all over South Plymouth, from Buttermilk Bay to Cedarville to Red Brook to Pine Hills. This is South Plymouth. Your decision could increase driving time for almost all South Plymouth voters by as much as 12 miles and 20 minutes in the case of Buttermilk Bay voters. And there are a lot of Buttermilk Bay voters. And this decision that you made disproportionately impacts South Plymouth neighborhoods. For older residents, working parents, those with disabilities, the longer the distance to vote, the more likely it is that some people will just not vote. And as Scott said and Bill said, disenfranchising voters is shame on us. Shame on us. So as I said, I didn't know about the plan to change the decision of a previous board. But I can still hear Harry Helm going back and forth with that board. I was on the precincting committee, and Harry was worried about White Island ponds in particular. So the increased travel distances, coupled with work schedules, child care responsibilities, could suppress voter turnout in South Plymouth. Now, I know that most of you live in North Plymouth. And unlike North Plymouth, where many residents can walk to voting locations, I mean, it's a mile for some of you, just a bit over a mile, I guess. We in South Plymouth are automobile dependent. We have to drive. No matter what, we're driving to the polls. I guess the last point that I'll make is that as Kelly points out, 53% of us now vote by mail or by drop box, but
how much more time do you need? You're at 3 minutes.
Okay,
go ahead.
I'm almost done.
All right.
As Kelly points out, 53% of us vote by mail or drop box, but 47%, which is a pretty big number, want to go to the polls. And, that number have pretty strong feelings about voting in person. And so they want traffic that's easy to navigate, lines that are short, and neighbors that are kind to them as they make their choices on ballots. So I urge you to just leave the 14 locations set by the precincting committee in 2021 as they stand today. Thank you.
Bill Licata, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 17. My request is a little more limited than the last couple of speakers, but I'm speaking about Precinct 17 because it is the largest precinct in town, and all the the existing voting location of South Elementary is already several miles drive for people, especially from the southern part of the precinct. And now moving it another 5 to 6 miles north is, as others have said, I think is going to be real problematic and affect voter turnout. So I request that at the least you reconsider the vote and go back to option B, which was at least leaving that one precinct where it was. Thank you.
Matt Tavares, Precinct 2. I echo all the other speakers that came before you this evening. I hope you do, at some point, reconsider someone from the prevailing side, motions to reconsider so you can debate this again. I understand the need, and I was in the room during the presentation, I understand the need to probably reduce the polling locations. But to go down by 72% and actually sitting in the room watching the presentation last week, just visually, when you looked at that map where those stars were, I was almost dumbfounded by the majority of the board not seeing the desert you created in the southwest of Plymouth. It was disheartening to a lot of people in the southern end of the town. I'm one of those people that looks at the numbers after every election. It's just something that I've done since I think I was 12. And I understand that there's a sentiment out there of where people vote and where they're coming from. And well, you know, some may vote here, some may not vote here. It doesn't matter. You have to leave that option. When they have a reason to come out and vote, they will. And I think that by creating a desert down there, you've also hopefully lit a fire under some of them to come out and vote, if that stands. That being said, I just hope that you reconsider, take a look at it, what your ultimate decision. It does lie with you guys, and that is well within Mass General law. But I do hope that you reconsider it, because the phone calls, the emails, the texts, as I'm sure you also all know, is quite overwhelming. Thank you.
Jade, is there anyone online?
I think these kids are coming up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Next
Yep.
kids.
Come on.
Kwe Kwasin, Natasuis Makaya Nutama, Sukwanamakapakwe, Wampanaak. I come here from the Herring Pond Wampanoag tribe here in Plymouth, Massachusetts, whose land that you're currently standing underneath. I'd like to bring up the point of the permit passing for the 33 acres on our ancestral homelands. That permit passing without any archaeological study being on our homelands. Our people have been here for thousands of years, and our ancestors lay beneath those lands that you guys are trying to sand mine. And our people have been disregarded and ignored for a very long time. We're in 2025, and this is still happening. Because if this was anybody else's grandmother or grandparents that are being undug right now, there'd be an issue. So I'd like to have you guys reconsider that and to think about our people and whose land that you're currently standing on, and listen out for our people, because there was over 1,000 emails sent about not proving this permit, and they were all ignored. And I know my community especially had reached out about not passing this permit, and that was ignored as well. So I don't know how we're going to move forward for our people but not listening for our people. So you need to understand in what land that you're standing on right now. Katapatanamu.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Casey. I come from the Mattakeesit, Massachusetts Nation, as well as the Nansemond Nation. And I'm going to reiterate basically what Micaiah just said. This land has so much history to it, not just Native history, not just some of our ancestors' history, but probably some of yours as well. Regarding the amount of land, especially in South Plymouth, that has been developed or has been talked about possibly being developed without any consent or even thought to the people that still have ancestral, not only ties, but remains that are underneath that land or in that land, it's diabolical to a lot of us. Not only Native people, but a lot of, other people from different descents. And not only every indigenous person from what we call Turtle Island, you know it as North America, we've been dealing with erasure since the beginning of this country, and even before that, technically. And regarding the archaeological significance of even talking about it within these rooms, that the importance of that is immense, because again, her tribe in particular has been dealing with erasure, and technically if you just don't even talk about it in these rooms, you're just aiding the erasure of their people. They will still be here, but they fly under the nose of everybody that even comes to visit, be a tourist, and yeah, they can go to the plantation, but that's not really a good, accurate depiction of the people that are still here. That's an old, very old look at the people that are still here. So again, I urge you to at least consider and possibly even invite people from her tribe and other neighboring sister tribes to have discussions about these matters. Include them in them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, just ask this gentleman a quick question. Just for clarity, you said Matakeesit tribe?
Yes.
And where is that located?
The Matakeesit, Massachusetts tribe is historically from the coastal region south of Boston. We were spread out, killed off in many different ways. And I'm originally from Halifax, Massachusetts. And my father lived in the town of Plymouth during his teenage years. And I have a lot of ancestry, both European and African American, as well as indigenous ancestry that resided in Plymouth for most of their lives, if not a lot of their lives. The Matakeesit tribe itself was nearly extinct, and we were very spread out because a lot of our people were forced to leave, hundreds of years ago. Me and my family, my direct family, and other cousins I have that I've never even met, we're spread out everywhere, especially in the Northeast. A lot of us mixed into other tribes like the Wampanoag people, Nipmuc folks, everywhere. So, for me in particular, I'm just, I'm here because I'm very close to these people that are from this direct area. So. Yep.
Anyone wishing to speak online? What do we got?
Thank you very much. My name is Catherine Harrelson, and I am with Community Land and Water Coalition.
Can you speak a little closer to the microphone, please?
Oh, thank you.
Yep.
Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Yeah, better. Yes, thank you.
Okay. I'll try to turn the volume up. I'd like to speak tonight about what happened with the Plymouth Foundation and also the building permit that was approved for 71 Hedges Pond Road. I believe it's an inherent conflict of interest to have Plymouth Town officials sit on the board of directors of an organization which seems primarily designed to promote the interests of business and business development. I believe that it is the primary interest of appointed and elected town officials to represent the interests of the people and the community, whereas it seems as though the mission of the Plymouth Foundation is to primarily represent the needs and interests of the business community. Oftentimes, the needs and interests of the business community are at direct odds with the people and the actual community of Plymouth itself. It seems as though very recently, within the last 2 days, the Plymouth Foundation voted to approve the sale of the land at 71 Hedges Pond Road to a developer, AJ Pontiff, which is a real estate company. If this is the case, then it seems as though members of the Select Board voted in direct opposition to the expressed will of the public on this issue. At the planning board meeting on December 4th, all of the public that got to speak were against this project. Over 1,000 letters were sent in to the building department in opposition to this project, and the Cedarville Steering Committee voted unanimously not to recommend this project to the planning board. Additionally, the chairwoman of the Herring Pond Wampanoag tribe wrote a direct letter about this project, expressing rights under UN DRIP about consultation with Indigenous communities over decisions like this, their rights as Indigenous peoples, and at the very least, an archaeological study to be conducted on this site. And these have not been honored. And I think that there's a conflict of interest here, and there's positions which are at odds. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak online? And that would be Mr. Zuccaroli, I believe.
Yes, thank you.
Can you speak up just a little bit, Bob, please?
Sure. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Good. I may go over my 3 minutes. I'd ask the board's indulgence on this. And Mr. Quinto, please stop me when I hit the 3-minute mark. I'm a lifelong resident of Plymouth. And for full disclosure, I am among the commuters that Mr. Canty referenced earlier. Over the last 6 decades, I have seen many changes to the town. Plymouth is no longer a community of 18,000 people, but has grown to 65,000 residents. It's the diversity of the town that makes this a desirable community. As a diverse community, the community needs to grow, and with growth comes change. Sometimes change is not easy, but it is necessary. The allergic reaction to growth and change compels me to speak on 4 things tonight, and they are in no particular order. Once upon a time, Plymouth had a local newspaper, the Old Colony Memorial. The OCM reported on everything that happened in town for years. The Plymouth Independent is the new local newspaper. It is no Old Colony Memorial, and it is certainly no New York Times or Boston Globe. The Plymouth Independent is overly critical of town administration and town officials. Its reporting is slanted, biased, and partial. By way of history, the Plymouth Independent came about because a group of residents were dissatisfied with government and is an attempt to legitimize bashing town officials, all under the guise of transparency. There are 2 sides to every story, and the Independent needs to start reporting both. The team of the Plymouth Independent is made up of story reporters, investigative reporters. However, of late, these reporters refuse to do the very work that they are hired to do. That they have received awards like the Pulitzer for reporting. Simply put, investigate and report both sides of a story. Secondly, there have been a number of complaints over the last week that the town administration is participating in voter suppression. This is laughable. To quote statistics, in 2024, 53% of the town voted early or by mail. In the presidential election, that percentage was 55%. There are 3 ways that people can vote: at the polls, early, in person, or by mail. This is not voter suppression. It is far from it. It is giving residents every opportunity to vote in elections.
Mr. Zuccarelli, would you like a little more time?
I would, thank you.
Go ahead.
The recent change proposed of 4 or 5 polling stations is a necessary change. It is a cost savings, and currently Plymouth is in a financial crisis. The $9,000 that will be saved could be a summer program, could offer repairs to streets and parks, anything that would help benefit the town. The $35,000 needed for this is a one-time expense. There is no voter suppression. This is simply a necessary change, and the data supports it. Next, I would like to ask Meg Sheehan to stop her attacks on town officials and the work they are trying to do. Every week, it seems, we are subject to a growing list of grievances from her. Enough is enough. It is very easy to point a finger and accuse people of double standards. Her comments are rife with misinformation and disinformation regarding financial benefits to the board or board members or town officials or harm to the environment. I will add that the only arguments worth listening to tonight are the arguments made by our Indigenous residents. Meg Sheehan, I would ask that you produce the scientific evidence that justify these claims, and then, maybe, people will listen. No one in town government is receiving financial gain for their efforts. This has been stated repeatedly. The question has been asked and answered. It's time to let it go. It's easy to deflect. I would ask that Ms. Sheehan, respond to claims that she possibly, is a beneficiary of 8 Mates LLC and is benefiting from the financial sale of family land in North Plymouth on Hedge Road, land that is among the last pieces of coastal wetlands in town. She is, however, eerily silent on this. Finally, I was listening to the Select Board meeting a couple of weeks ago when a representative from the town's No Place for Hate committee came forward to speak about an email that was sent to select few town meeting members. That email contained 2 words: a Nazi slur, a salute that has no place in this society. The author of that email refuses to take responsibility for it, and I would ask that something is done. We have all seen and heard the criticism of Elon Musk when he proffered a Nazi salute. Why is there silence on this? If that comment were made in a church, in a community gathering, or in Germany, I guarantee you the reaction would be swift and severe. And yet, we hear crickets. I spoke with the author of that email. I was told that I was dense, stupid, and had no sense of humor, and that I misunderstood the intent of the comment. I can assure you, I am not dense or stupid, and those who know me know that I have a sense of humor. There is nothing funny about this comment. Also, I spoke with a town meeting member about the email they asked and was told it was no big deal. This is a simple response. This same response people made in 1937 Germany, and we all know how that ended. This is a big deal and cannot go unaddressed. If any board member or town administrator had said anything like that, the calls for their resignation would be immediate. Even the Plymouth Independent, who was so critical of town government, was reluctant to print my letter initially. I suppose once the email was produced, they saw no choice. Plymouth is a great community, and I'm sure the comments that I have just made will endear me to no one. However, there are 2 sides to every story, and it is about time we looked at things in a fair and impartial way, make the adjustments needed to be made, and no longer shy away from the necessary changes that are needed in town. While some may be reluctant to do so, it's time someone stood up for and defended those trying to move this community forward and not hold them back. A time for civility needs to come back. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jade, is there anyone else wishing to speak? Hey, can you hear us?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Isabella Gamble, and I am speaking tonight as a resident, and my comments are solely my own. Thank you to the Select Board for the opportunity to provide public comment tonight. My name is Isabella Gamble, and in my day job, I work to move equitable climate policies forward at the city and state levels in Massachusetts, and I have over 10 years of experience in conservation and climate policy work across the city, state, and international levels, including within the United Nations. Throughout my life, I have come to know and love the natural and working lands of Plymouth County, and they have become a critical aspect of my family's well-being as we care for my father in his terminal cancer diagnosis. My elderly parents are homeowners in Manomet, and in the last several decades, I have seen firsthand the local ecosystem change as a result of development, which has put my parents' property, their health and well-being, local wildlife, indigenous cultural heritage, as well as the surrounding community and economy at heightened risk from climate hazards. 2 specific climate hazards that I want to mention tonight from climate science include extreme heat and extreme precipitation, also known as stormwater flooding. Massachusetts has a state hazard mitigation and climate adaptation plan known as the Resilient Mass Plan, which provides an overview of the most urgent and critical climate threats facing our communities, critical infrastructure, and regional economy in Massachusetts. 2 of the most urgent and increasing climate hazards facing Plymouth include extreme heat and extreme precipitation. To allow the sand mining project, or so-called gravel removal project, at 71 Hedges Pond Road to move forward would require the removal of existing pine-barren forest land, and is not only in direct contradiction to the wishes of the local community and tribal stewards of this land who spoke earlier, but it is also directly placing the Cedarville neighborhood and surrounding communities at greater risk of flash flooding from extreme precipitation, as well as harmful impacts of extreme heat. The current pine barren forest land ecosystem at 71 Hedges Pond Road provides significant ecosystem services that benefit our community, including stormwater retention, by keeping the soil in place throughout storm systems. Trees also act as a natural air conditioner by taking groundwater up through their roots and releasing cool air through their leaves in a process known as evapotranspiration. This cools down the surrounding environment in Cedarville. To clear cut and gouge out this forest land ecosystem would in turn directly contribute to increased heat illnesses and deaths in Plymouth, and would contribute to more significant damage to critical infrastructure from stormwater flooding. People might recall the horrific flash floods experienced in Leominster, Massachusetts in the summer of 2023, when 11 inches of rain fell in just 5 hours and resulted in stormwater flooding that ruined homes, businesses, ripped up roadways, and caused sinkholes. The community is still trying to recover economically and is still looking for disaster relief funding. Their local economy was gutted. Leominster might have avoided such damage if natural and working forest ecosystems like the pine barrens at 71 Hedges Pond Road
Excuse
were
me,
left intact
Bella,
and were left
you need
to
a few
protect the
more?
surrounding community.
Do you need a little
I'm
more
almost done.
time?
Thank you so much for your patience.
Thank
I
you.
urge the Select Board to revoke the permit for 71 Hedges Pond Road until the very reasonable request of Chairwoman Melissa Ferretti of the Herring Pond Wampanoag Tribe for an archaeological study be done on the site. In addition to this reasonable request, from a scientific perspective, I would recommend that this project does not move forward until an ecological study of the site and an environmental impact report are completed for this project, with particular concern regarding stormwater flooding and extreme heat. Please do not allow the short-term profit of a select few to result in the long-term harm, poor health, and economic burdens borne by our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Ms. Chase?
Good evening. My name is Julia Chase. I'm a Kingston resident with a degree in environmental studies and years of experience supporting environmental and Indigenous advocacy nonprofits. I'm also speaking in opposition to the permit issued at 71 Hedges Pond Road. This permit is unjust both ecologically and public health-wise, with silica dust being a known carcinogen. But like was generously mentioned already by the original stewards of these lands, the town of Plymouth is actively violating the sovereignty of the Herring Pond tribe by issuing this permit. The issuing of this permit without consulting with the tribe is a violation of the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, which requires that governments cooperate with Indigenous peoples, quote, in order to obtain their free and informed consent prior to the approval of any project that is affecting their lands or territories and other resources. So not only is this permit disregarding the wishes and public health of the broader community, where 1,000 letters were sent in opposition to this project, but also in issuing this permit, the town is actively continuing its legacy of colonial violence against the Wampanoag Nation. And so at a minimum, the town should remediate this course, adhere to the very reasonable request of Melissa Ferretti, as well as the two Indigenous people who generously took the time to stand before you tonight. You should listen to them and revoke this permit immediately. Thank you.
How many more we got? Because I want to limit it. One more, that's it.
Hello, my name is Meg Sheehan. I'm an attorney, and I've studied environmental science and law for almost 40 years. I'm here to talk about the sand mining project at 71 Hedges Pond Road and to support the positions of the Indigenous people in this community for an archaeological study before the project goes ahead. The Planning Board did not do its job. In fact, it violated the law when it issued the permit by not requiring a special permit from the Zoning Board of Appeals, and that decision is still open to challenge legally. I'd like to let the Select Board know and the Plymouth Foundation know that we're not fooled by your big cardboard check for $2 million that was so carefully presented in your staged show tonight. The Plymouth Foundation does not need the money that you just voted to give them under the MOU tonight. You did not disclose the details, but apparently it will continue to require the taxpayers of Plymouth to pay $125,000 to the Plymouth Foundation and to have this contract. Why? The Plymouth Foundation has $2.3 million in its checkbook, in its coffers, and that's before the proceeds of the sale of this land tonight. The Plymouth Foundation doesn't need $125,000 in order to conduct its business of promoting economic development in Plymouth. If the Plymouth Foundation is eligible for a contract, a special contract, and a payment from the town to run its business, why isn't every other nonprofit in town eligible for the similar treatment? The veterans, the homeless shelter, the arts center, conservation groups, shouldn't they be paid by the town in order to carry out their activities? I'd like to point out that the sale of this land at 71 Hedges Pond Road, the 33 acres, according to the Registry of Deeds, passed through on February 7th for $3.4 million. That leaves approximately $1.4 million in the foundation's checkbook, assuming that the $2 million is actually even paid to the town of Plymouth. Checking the deed, it is stamped as canceled according to the Registry of Deeds. And there's a right of first refusal from the foundation back to Mr. Pontiff for the adjacent parcel number 24. There's a mortgage and other financial transactions relating to this, so we really wonder whether this big cardboard check
Ms. Sheehan, how much time you need?
represents anything.
Ms. Sheehan, hello.
Almost done.
How much time you need?
One more minute to wrap up.
One more, you got it.
Well, I just do want to say, Mr. Quinto, as to your comment last week in which you insisted that I refused to meet with you, I did text you and Mr.
Ms.
Mahoney
Sheehan, do you have something really important to say?
Yes, that we're not fooled by the charade of this.
And we're not
$2 million
fooled by
check.
you. This is over. Goodbye. Okay, town manager's report.
Okay, so just a few updates this evening. Just want to let the board know that if you go over to the town boat ramp, the boardwalk in that area has been demolished, as we had stated a couple weeks back. Right now, we're just waiting for the materials to arrive. Once the materials arrive, we expect quick construction and certainly will be ready in time for the tourist season. I just want to let folks know that if you turn on Channel 5 in the next week or so, you will see our very own Commissioner Michelle Brady. Channel 5 is coming back to town this week again to do another follow-up story on their great work on the distribution of the opioid settlement funds. The ARISE program is, in my mind, a leader in the state with the work that they're doing, and this will be the second story that Channel 5 has covered on their great work. Down in Cedarville, the dog park continues to move forward, so we are currently at 30% completion for construction. We are expecting that the full completion of the dog park will take place sometime in April. We'll be working with the Department of Public Works, Parks Division on rules and regulations over the next couple of months for the use of the dog park. As it relates to this past storm, this past weekend, this is something folks should be aware of. Unfortunately, we had to issue 58 citations. So, as you all know, we impose a parking ban from 1 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Sunday. And unfortunately, that message did not go as far and wide as we had hoped. Because of that, we issued 58 citations and had to tow 54 cars. So we will plan on a PSA. We'll work with our communications coordinator, Casey Kennedy, to get more information out so folks can sign up to our Code Red, because that's one way we push these messages, and it'll push right to your phone. So we want our residents to be aware of what's happening not only in the community, but certainly during winter storm events when we have a parking ban in place to try to avoid those cars being towed in the future. Over at the police department, we have started our body cam training. Next week, we will roll into field training for the use of the body cams, and the week of the 24th, we will go live with the body cams. We're working with the local scene to do a video coverage on the use of the body cams and what it means to our residents. So more to come on that. I received a notice last week from the state. The migrant shelter that has been in place since the fall of 2022 over at the Best Western on Court Street will be closed effective April 1st. The state is working very closely with the nonprofit organizations to rehouse those individuals. Right now, currently, there are about 17 families at that shelter. And again, that shelter will be closed by April 1st, and all those individuals will be rehoused. This coming Thursday at PCIS will be another listening session at 6 p.m., again at PCIS. This is for the master planning process for the 1,500 acres at Holtec. So as I reported in the past, we will continue to work with the community and engage them to try to get their feedback on what the future holds for those 1,500 acres. And then last, I just want to end that Mr. Harry Fox is retired. He's retiring this week. He has been a 30-year veteran of the Plymouth Fire Department, so I just wanted to wish Mr. Fox well and thank him for his dedication of 30 years of service to the fire department. So pending any questions, that's all I have this evening.
Any questions for Derek? Mr. Canty?
Mr. Brodizzi, in regards to, we keep getting these recurring public comments about canceling, pausing, revising, revoking this building permit. Can you, just so it's clear to folks, because I think when we get these comments to members of the general public, they assume we could be doing something about this thing, and we're just choosing not to do something about this thing. So could you just, for clarity's sake, explain in layman's terms to folks what the select board can and cannot do in regards to a building permit such as this?
So, yeah, that's a great question, and I think the last 2 to 3 weeks, folks have been coming to the podium, asking the board to rescind the building permit that's been issued at 71 Hedges Pond Road. So, under the statute, the select board has no authority to either issue a building permit or rescind the issuance of a building permit. That process takes place through the planning board first. So as been pointed out by many folks that even presented this evening, the planning board held public hearings. They listened to folks not only in Plymouth but in that neighborhood. They then approved the project at 71 Hedges Pond Road. Upon approval by the planning board, the building commissioner under the statute has the authority to issue a building permit. He did so, issue that building permit. The board, the select board, does not have the authority to rescind that building permit. That solely resides within the building commissioner. However, under Chapter 40A, there is an appeal process. And that chapter clearly states the remedies for the issuance of a building permit is an appeal to the ZBA. And I know Ms. Sheehan in particular understands that process extremely well, so I don't think I'm educating her on that process. So the fact that folks continue to press the select board to rescind that building permit, they are talking to the wrong board. They should be seeking remedies to the ZBA. If the ZBA upholds that decision, then there are other appeal courts that they could then file additional appeals to. So again, just to recap, if I'm not clear, the select board does not have the authority to issue building permits. Under Chapter 40A, that appeal process would go to the ZBA.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions or comments for Derek? Anybody have new business? Mr. Blitzer?
Yeah, I just want to comment, the senior task force, I was there last week with the Health and Human Service, Director. Actually, it was a Monday yesterday, and I just want to comment on the progress the senior task force is making. The Health and Human Services worked hard to get us accredited as a dementia-friendly accredited town. And I just, we had a great meeting yesterday about some of the programs we're going to roll out. One program is the Purple Table program. It's getting businesses involved, all different businesses, not just restaurants, even though it says Purple Table, but retail, fitness centers, all different businesses, anybody that deals with the public. And we have sensitivity training. There's a logo that you'll be able to have on your door so folks will know about it. It's going to be advertised so that the tourists will know that it's available. But it was a great meeting, and I'm just going to tell you, it's a great committee of some real talented people that are going to make this thing happen. It's going to start slow, but this will take off, and it's going to be a huge advantage for I believe, for everybody, for our youth that work in these, that are going to learn to be sensitive to others. It's going to help our tourism because it's going to, people are going to feel so accepted, and I know it's something that we're always trying to work on, is being accepted and being, people being friendly towards you. So I'm very proud of this. So I just wanted to say that that's going well. I have, that's it for my new business. I have old business. I can hold off.
We'll just see if anyone else has new business. Any other new business? Mr. Mahoney?
Through the chair to the town manager, following up on the land foundation and the comment to public comment tonight, is there an archaeological review or dig? Or is there a process that is required as that moves forward?
That conversation would have taken place during the planning board hearings. I could certainly follow up to find out whether or not they required an archaeological dig. I can tell you just we had to do that for the cemetery on Route 80. And we did do that, and we had some findings. But I can certainly follow up the planning board, Lee Hartman, the planning director, to learn more if there was an archaeological conversation.
Yeah, okay. I think that's an important variable that we should get clarification on. And the second thing I have, Mr. Chairman, is that I believe at last week's meeting, I think we recounted our site visit to the New England ISO, and then that conversation expanded into the bills, the electricity bills that our constituents are getting, and I think it's imperative. I think we all saw the email from one person in the community that we do make sure that we find out somebody from Eversource or one of the other companies accurate information with respect to why that is. Not if it's Mr. Farah can help us explain that from within inside this building, but maybe at the next meeting, if there's anything on that, we need to make sure that it's accurate.
Well,
sorry.
I'm working on that, and I want it from more than this building. I want people from Eversource. Sure. Our state delegation is going to come in, all of them. Just to be clear, Mr. Lenatra, Ms. Badger, and then Mr. Fernandez, yes. I spoke with him the other day. So, but we're gathering all the information, and Derek, I know you were putting it together. So, I don't really want to say next week. And we also have an energy committee, and I did speak with Mr. Cahill because I saw him in the corridor, and I know he spoke with you. I think he was going up to see you anyway. So it's in the works, John. And now that you touched on it, I've taken my seat on the county to the commissioners at 5:30 Thursday night, and we're going to see if we can't get a regional group of towns and cities to band together and purchase electricity. So I think they said they have 15 when I talked to Mr. Bassler, Frank Bassler today. I think he had 15 communities that were actually interested. So, and another 16 that already are under contract. So they're working on it eagerly. They have to go through the local select boards. And then, but I'll have more to report on. I was going to save old business, but since you brought it up. So it's nice to see that the county is going out and doing something for the county. Oh, yeah, I know, but you got little baby steps, John. All right?
It's only taken 400 years.
John, be nice now. All right. It's for the good of the community. All right, I hope. So we were on new business. And did you have anything else, John? All right. Mr. Blitzer, new business?
No, I have old business.
All right. Mr. Golden, you all set? All right, let's go to old business.
So I have some old business, and I want to start off with, it's not easy sitting up here. I'll just say that. You have to have thick skin. You have to be able to be criticized, especially under public comment, because we can't respond to public comments. But we listen, we listen, and sometimes, as a good leader, one thing I've been managing and leading people for a long time, and I'm not going to get into my background or anything, but I can tell you, sometimes you have to make tough decisions. But you have to, if you believe in something, you have to make the decision. And if you make the wrong decision, you have to admit to it. And I'll just speak about a vote last week for the consolidating the polling places. I agree that we need to consolidate. 15 poll is too many. It's too many. It's too spread out. And I've been working polls in Plymouth for 35 years, and I'm going to tell you, it's too many. We don't need that many. How are we trying to increase? We were criticized tonight, and oh, by the way, it is 3 months to election, and I am running, and that was brought up by another candidate, and I am, but I'm still. I'm able to make these tough decisions, and I'm not worried about my election. If I lose the election, so be it. I'm not going to lose because I gave up my principles. So with that being said, early voting and mail-in voting is the way we're going to increase voting. And we're only a couple years into it. It's going to take maybe a little time, but it's going to work. I heard about and I'm not criticizing anybody, you have your opinion, that it's going to affect the elderly, the physically challenged, the poor. Well, all I can say is they all have homes. They can vote right from their home. Okay, I don't know how changing polling places is going to affect them. I just don't. With that being said, I'm going to change. And I'm going to ask the chairman to reconsider my vote from last week, and I want to reconsider because I made a mistake and I admit to it. I should have gone to Plan B, and I'll tell you my reason why. You can like it or not like it. South Elementary has to be included. We need, because it's Buttermilk Bay, Red Brook, that area. It's too far away to go to South Middle. So I believe that has to be included. Under Plan B, that would be included. And I hear about the South Plymouth being neglected. And in this case, we're going to have South Elementary, we're going to have South Middle, and we're going to have Indian Brook. So I think that covers a good portion of South Plymouth. If anything, we get West Plymouth and PCIS. The north part of Plymouth might be, if anybody had a complaint, and I really haven't heard from the North Plymouth folks. So, Matt, you probably have. You're looking at me, but all I can say is, I'd like to reconsider. I'd like to go with Plan B. And I said this last week. If I'm wrong, if this plan doesn't work, we can always change this plan. We got an election coming up. Let's see how it works there. It's a town election. And then we got next year, I don't think the state next year, so it's probably going to take 2 years to see if it works. If it doesn't work, if I'm sitting there, I will vote to change. Let's add more precincts. So I just want to tell you, this is not something that I take lightly, but a good leader, I'm going to say it one more time, is somebody that can make a decision because they believe in it. And I can look right to my right, and I'll bring one thing for anybody that has a history in Plymouth. Pay to throw, if anybody remembers that. Very controversial article, decision. 2 weeks before the election, the chairman here voted on it. Him and Gene Lowenberg voted. And I said to him at the time, you should have waited till after the election. He said, no, it was the right thing to do. She lost the election. He almost lost. The board threw it out. When they reorganized, they threw it out, got rid of it. 2 or 3 years later, we did pay to throw because they had to do it because it was costing the town a ton of money. And at that point, the rate that he had set for the town, it was a lot more. So that decision, by not going with his decision, cost the town a lot of money. But he had the courage. He had the courage to make that vote. And tonight, I want to change my vote to Plan B. If the chair, if it's, I don't know how this process works.
Well, let's just wait, because we got a few people
I'll listen
on.
to my colleagues.
Yeah.
But I'm bringing it back for reconsideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate Mr. Blitz's comments on the matter. I did meet with the committee precinct chairs last night in my role as the liaison from the select board to that group. Mrs. Tavares, the chair of the COPC, is here with us tonight, so please feel free to correct me if I miss anything. I committed to those folks that I would report to this board the concerns that they had about this very topic. On the matter of consolidation, one of the I think prevailing themes among the committee precinct chairs was that they wish that they, as the leaders of town meeting, had been consulted in the process. They also expressed concerns that this could have a negative impact on voter turnout, that this could potentially dilute the importance of Election Day by encouraging further access of early voting by mail or in person. They expressed that it could cause confusion as to where people might vote, that this would have a negative impact on the elderly and disabled, and that our decision-making ought to have had public input. They also were concerned, as I had been when we took our initial vote, that the folks of South Plymouth would be particularly disenfranchised. And there was a special concern about the ability of PCIS to be able to handle 6 voting precincts at that location. I did meet with Mrs. Tavares. Did that summarize? That was about all the bullet points. Very good. Thank you. I did meet with the town clerk today to address some of these issues. I looked at the proposal for if we were to pursue, well, regardless of whether we pursued Plan A or Plan B, or Proposal A or Proposal B, PCIS, based on the most recent local election, would see about just shy of 2,000 voters if every single person who had voted in the most recent town election from those 6 precincts voted on Election Day. Now, through my discussions with the town clerk, there were about, we've been averaging in the last 4 elections about a 43% turnout on Election Day. That's an average of 4 elections. If we applied that 43% to the number of total voters in those 6 precincts, it would be about 846 people who would vote in person on Election Day. that would be about 65 an hour on average. Now, of course, there are going to be some times at the beginning and the end of the day where there are many more people who are voting at the same time. But with 6 precincts there, that's about 11 people per hour. Even if we multiplied that by 2.5 times, which would bring us up to the threshold of about 17,000 voters, which is what we saw in the state election, in the state primary, we would be the PCIS voting place would have about 163 voters per hour, which means that each precinct would see about 27 people per hour. The town clerk is confident that those are manageable numbers. I also worked with the town manager today, and who worked with the school department to figure out how many parking spots there are at PCIS. There are 264 regular spots. There are 13 handicap spots. And there are 33 bus spots. It's about 310 spots at a minimum on PCIS's campus. So we could have 100% occupancy, and still, if we turned those folks over once per hour, they could still fit in every voter from that precinct in about 6.5 hours. So Kelly's confident that PCIS would be able to handle that volume. I wanted to also indicate that we looked at what proposal B would be. The per precinct per hour volume for each of the remaining 4, which would be West Elementary, Indian Brook, South Elementary, and Plymouth South Middle School, ranged from 6 to 9 per precinct per hour. And Kelly's very confident that they can handle that volume in those voting precincts. So 2 things. I think the committee of precinct chairs is concerned, but the clerk is, I think, confident that she would be able to address those concerns. I just wanted to report that back to the board.
Thank you. Mr. Canty?
Thank you, Mr. Quintal. So I had an opportunity to speak to Ms. McElrath as well, and go over proposals A and B and the details of both, and also have heard feedback from a variety of residents, some in favor of the change, based on changing voting trends in the community, demonstrated over time through the data that we have and was presented to us, and some in opposition of it, largely couched as concerns about, as has been stated multiple times tonight, by the issue, perceived or otherwise, of access in South Plymouth under Proposal A versus at least what was proposed in Proposal B. And I have a proposed solution after speaking to the town clerk to, if we were under Robert's Rules of Order, you could take up a motion to amend something previously adopted, as long as you have not acted on that thing in a way that that has made a substantive change. We have not yet, because we have not had an election. There's still time to do so. It being presented without notice would require that it be moved and seconded and then supported by 2/3 of the committee. So that would be 4 out of the 5 of us. But we could amend our vote from last week, this week, if we wanted to. We could amend it. We would not need to reconsider. We could instead just amend the vote. We would amend it from I would suggest, from Proposal A to Proposal B, which would put South Elementary on the board. That would leave, just for viewers at home, PCIS would be precincts 1 through 4, 10 and 18, West Elementary 5, 11, and 13, Indian Brook precincts 6, 7, and 14, Plymouth South Middle precincts 12, 15, and 16, and South Elementary School precincts 8, 9, and 17. In addition to that, amending it from Proposal A to B, I would suggest, based on my conversations with the town clerk, that we also, under Massachusetts general law, she has to send out a postcard or other mailing to anyone whose polling location changes, and she can include on that postcard information as to how they can request a mail-in ballot, so that anyone who doesn't want to drive to their new polling location for whatever reason, or cannot drive to their new polling location for whatever reason, would have the ease of access to a mail-in ballot. Would that be a concern? She is also able to, based on our conversation, to add an additional day for local elections for early in-person voting. As we are seeing based on the data, in 2024, there were 53% of voters that cast ballots in 5 elections. Across 5 elections, 53% of voters voted either early in person or via mail. So we do have significant public input as to how people want to vote, because we have the data of how they are actually voting in our community. But giving an additional day for early in-person voting, making it very easy for anyone that feels they don't want to drive to their new polling location to vote by mail, and also putting keeping a polling location open down in that South Plymouth area, I think would be an acceptable compromise from what we originally voted on. There are issues beyond what was presented, and I would point out, as was presented last time, the town of Marshfield, just not far to our north, has 7 precincts. They have 25,000 people spread out over about 31 miles. They have 1 polling location. So we are about 105 square miles, and we have, in this proposal, we would have 5. So we would be less dense, less congested than Marshfield is. Braintree has 12 precincts, 3 polling locations, 38,000 plus people. Franklin, 33,000, 9 precincts, 1 polling location. The list goes on. The Massachusetts Clerk Association is moving towards consolidation of polling locations based on voting data across the state and across the country. But there are other reasons as well. It is not just a polling location that is open. There's also a police presence at that location. Every polling location has a police officer that is on a detail. And you may think, well, what's the problem there? They're being paid. Well, they're not working on the streets, and they're working that shift, which impacts not only that day and that day of operations for public safety in this community, but also obviously has knock-on effects to the days around it in this community, because if you have 14 polling locations, each of which is staffed by an officer for 13 hours to allow for the polls to be open, and then close and do the closing materials. That is a lot of man hours or police officer hours, and that does create a burden on our public safety. So public safety is very much in favor of consolidation in order to ease their other operations, which are important. And I would hate in our community for something to happen and us to be unable to bring police officers onto staff because of a knock-on effect created by having this many polling locations open as we have, based on the output that we're seeing. There's also, it is burdensome on the schools. Many of our polling locations are at schools, and the schools are in favor of the consolidation so that there's a reduced burden on their resources and infrastructure as well. They do professional development during some of these elections. They perform other functions, and there is a benefit there. So it's not just the town clerk's office. It's not just data-driven, but those things are important considerations. The poll pads, as Mr. Golden went over, indicate when people are voting at what time of day. The town clerk is 100% confident that either Proposal A or Proposal B can and will work logistically, but Proposal B does sound like the more equitable proposal in the grand scheme of things. So at this time, I would make a motion to amend something previously adopted and to amend our prior vote from Proposal A to Proposal B to add a requirement that the postcard that goes out includes vote by mail information, and to add an additional day of early in-person voting for local elections.
Okay, if anyone seconds that, just hold up a second. John, did you want to say anything?
Sure, I'll have some comment, I think, when we get to discussion on any particular motion, but just for clarity, you're confident that we don't have to put this on a future agenda and revisit it?
You do not for a motion to amend something previously adopted that has not been acted upon. And it's also being provided to the chair less than 48 hours in advance.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Canty, second by Mr. Mahoney. Discussion. Mr. Golden.
I just have a question. Is it permissible for the second to come from someone who's not on the prevailing side?
Actually, the motion doesn't even need, for a motion to amend something previously adopted, not even the motion needs to come from someone on the prevailing side.
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion? Mr. Mahoney.
Yeah, just going back to last week, obviously, my colleague, Mr. Golden, hit the nail on the head with a comment with respect to South Plymouth. And I don't think it's just perception. I think there's some reality down there with respect to feeling a disconnect from maybe the central and the northern part of the community. I thought it was important that we left South Elementary in there as the fifth polling place for individuals in the southwestern corner to vote. We looked at some data today very briefly. The Marshfield reference that Mr. Canty talked about, I reached out to a county official that lives in Marshfield. You have a community of 30 to 33 square miles with one polling place. Pembroke just christened a new community center, I think, within the last year. Prior to that, they had 5 polling locations, 5 places to vote for a community of 18,000 people, 22 square miles. They've closed all 5 of them. With the new infrastructure in the center of town, everybody votes at the new community center. We talk about facilitating and trying to promote voter turnout. I think mail-in voting and early voting do that. I believe the number was, Mr. Brindisi, the town hall is open on Friday from what, 7:30 to noon?
Yes.
Yeah, so that last Friday of early voting before last fall's elections, 600 people. 600 people went down to the 1820 in the foyer down there and voted early voting in 4.5 hours. So with the 50 to 55% of the people, now participating in early voting and by mail, I think that these 5 new locations should be more than adequate for us to transition into.
Just to echo with the rest of the board, I know there isn't a person sitting here that, if there's an issue, that we'll take it back up. But I think we have a town clerk that's done a lot of changing and brought us up to where we should be. She's working on it. She's done a good job. And that's why she makes what she makes. She does a good job. It's funny, just quickly, because I know it's getting late. I was at a VSB meeting before I came here, and one of the comments out of, I think it was Amy Naples of the Chamber, she said, they get more votes in America's hometown hound. Is that it? 60,000 votes he gets, or she gets, the dog. Okay, so I think it's hearing those numbers, then coming here and hearing these numbers, I think you can see the writing on the wall. We just, and if not, we'll revisit it. But you see other communities doing it. We have to try it and see. The numbers, they really show it. 53, 54%. I mean, that's the writing on the wall. And I know I live in North Plymouth. Somebody said something about North Plymouth. I'll tell you what, I vote by mail. I have since pre-COVID. And the last election I was in was during COVID. And it was all by mail that I had to get my information out. There was no fundraisers, so it can be done. And, if you compromise and it's an issue, then you have the mail. If not, I'll gladly give you a ride, if I can. I mean, if there's 50 years, well, we got to figure it out. But more than happy to give anybody that needs a ride. And I'm sure there are a lot of other people here that would do the same. Charlie's not working. He'd love to help, too. So, That being said, motion, we have a second. Any more discussion? Mr. Golden?
Yes.
Mr. Bledsoe?
Yes.
Mr. Canty?
Yes.
Mr. Mahoney?
Yes.
And myself, yes, unanimous. Any other old business? Before we adjourn, Mr. Brindisi, are we going to be in this room next meeting, or on the upcoming agendas, Jade, it might be helpful to, in case anybody's looking online, even for myself, to know where I'm going. I was asking tonight, which way am I going? So, because we're going to do 1 week here, 1 week in the courthouse. We're going to do every other week. So, if you don't see us in here, we're down the hall. All right? Okay. Motion to adjourn? Or what? Did you have something else, John?
Motion to adjourn?
Enthusiastically second.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for watching. Have a nice week.